Hi, everyone. This is Steve Delasan, and welcome to this week's edition of CEOs You Should Know. I am thrilled to be joined by Jessica Crotty, the CEO of C. Crane. Jessica, thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're so excited to be able to jump into the conversation and learn more about you as well as C. Crane. So, why don't we kick things off? And you could start off by telling everyone a little bit about your journey with C. Crane and what really drew you to the company 30 years ago.
Yes, so I was working at a gym at the time,
Okay.
and one of the ladies at our church actually worked at Sea Crane, and she thought that I would be great because I had told people I was looking for something else. I had recently gotten married, and I was ready to try something else. And yeah, so they were growing, and we had a bunch of interviews, like three interviews, I think. And I kind of had gotten to the spot where I was like, I don't know if they're going to hire me. And so then I was calling and they were like, no, 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 we really are. We just have to get a spot for you because they were like literally adding desks for people as they were hiring. So, um, yeah, that August I got hired. And then I actually found out immediately after that that I was pregnant. And
Oh my
back
gosh, so
then it
exciting.
was a very surprised thing, was not what we had planned. And then I had to go back and tell them because back then, you didn't have the protections that you have now. And
Yeah,
so
of
I
course.
remember being like, but then, yeah, now 30 years later, apparently it worked out and it was all meant to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you started originally in customer service and
hmm
now obviously you worked your way up to CEO. What did that path look like and what were some of the lessons you learned along the way?
Oh gosh. Yeah, so we were growing really fast at the time when I started. So Art Bell, who was on air back then, he had started on KDON and then started getting syndicated. And so he was growing and growing. And we, when I started, I think he was like on maybe 5 stations or 10 stations. And then it was like they'd add 10 more stations and the
Oh my gosh.
phones were just
Yep.
kind of going crazy. And so it was like we had a single line phone system. So it would just ring. And then if nobody was there, it would ring to the next, so it was like you go home and like not want to talk on the phone ever. And it was kind of wild how busy it was. We also had answering machines, like
hmm
tapes that recorded the voicemails at night. And so some of us would transcribe the tapes. And sometimes when it was got so busy, we'd actually have people stay the night to flip the tapes
Oh my
because they'd
gosh.
get so full.
It's
We had this
crazy.
whole bank of,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a really like wild time. And then an opportunity presented itself. We had a manager at the time who did all the programming and all of the network and all of that kind of stuff. And so when I started, we were on a coaxial network, which if you're not familiar with that, that's like where it's daisy chained together. Like, and network cards were not a thing really yet for regular
Uh-huh.
business. So he needed some help. And I was like, I've never done anything like that, but I'm pretty smart. So I think I could figure it out. And if not, you're no worse off. You can hire somebody, right? So
Yeah,
um, that traveled me into IT, and I spent I mean, I still spend a lot of time really in IT because everything's IT now, but
Mhm.
I spent probably a good 20 years of my career here in a combo of IT and sales and marketing, with customer service thrown in kind of everywhere. But that was really the path that took me onto a lot of travel and a lot of opportunity, sales and marketing also, going to shows, meeting radio people.
Mhm.
So Talkers started, I think, in 99, and we went to the first one and had our little booth and met all these different radio hosts over in New York. And so as a 20 something year old, it was very like
That's awesome.
starstruck. And
Yeah,
so that was the path over the time. And as far as like lessons learned, every different place was a lesson. A lot of patience, especially in IT,
absolutely. Yeah.
especially when it was dial up and PC anywhere and
Yeah.
all of those things. So and persistence and patience, and then how to treat customers. I think the company was founded very much on how we treat people and not trying to just get a sale, always taking care of the customer, even if that means telling them we don't have the right product for them. And so nobody's on commission as far as that kind of stuff goes. And we always support the sale after. We have people calling 20 years later. that still have a radio that they bought that long ago, and we still do our best to service that or serve them.
That's awesome. All those different experiences probably got you ready for the role you're in now. So that's awesome to be so
I
like
don't
well-rounded.
know if anything gets you ready for this
That's
role.
true. So I know sea crane's been around for almost more than 4 decades. What do you think's kept the company so strong and relevant, even with the ever-changing technology that's around?
Um, I think I think the service is a big part of it. I think the commitment to quality
Hmm.
and also really knowing the customer and understanding radio. And so the founder, Bob Crane, is avid radio listener. And
Love
so
that.
when he was designing the products, it was very much with the intent of um, making things in a way where it was like they would know that this was done just for those people that really
Sure.
just love radio, whether it's where the buttons are positioned, understanding that you're like in the middle of the night trying to fumble around. And so making it easy, making the displays work in certain ways. I think that's a big part. And then the reliability, radio works
Mhm.
when nothing else does. All the technology and all the things uh, sometimes can get overwhelming too and be complicated. And it's like, do you really want to download one more app? Do you really want to fill in one more form? I think people enjoy the simplicity of it. And you
Absolutely.
just turn it on and it works. And they kind of all not work exactly the same, but similarly. So it's not like you're having to get a PhD in radio every
Yeah,
time you get one.
it's so true. I love that philosophy of having that passion for radio, but also for the consumer. And I know that you've emphasized really having that high quality product, that attention to detail. You just kind of took us through, and obviously the joy for being able to bring that to the customer. Can you share an example of how that mission has shaped one of your products?
Yes, so the recent one, the CC Radio Bluetooth, we had an original version that didn't have the Bluetooth, and everybody was like, "This is great if it only had Bluetooth, or if it only," and so we did that, and we also made a couple other changes along with it as far as like some of the way the buttons were set up and the way that some of our instructions read, and really listened to our customers about that. And so now it has Bluetooth,
Nice.
and we're always trying to do that. Then we also the CC Radio 3 button placement. It was like, oh, if you're going to add Bluetooth, it would be great if we didn't have to cycle through everything. And so they
Yep.
actually split them into two separate buttons so that people got their preference.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's great to see how you guys take the feedback from the customer and incorporate it into your products.
Yes, I think we're really good at that. You
That's
can't always
awesome.
do it. Sometimes cost comes
Sure.
into play and it just becomes like, well, we would love to do that. And there's not the same demand for certain features that people would like. But as a whole, we really do try to listen to that. And then we do on that detail side. If you go and read our reviews
Sure.
online, you'll see people say, and the instructions manual is actually in English and it does what the product says. You can
That's
follow
great.
along and it's actually accurate because we write them here. And so all the staff here is involved in that. There's people that talk to the customers that edit, so we get feedback from our team also and incorporate that like, hey, this part is really hard for the customer. We're constantly having to do it. And then we have FAQs also that we for the same reason. So we're
That's
constantly
awesome.
trying to listen and respond. And
Well, it definitely shows. You could tell from the narrative you're telling us right now. So
yeah,
it's something to be proud of. So I know C Crane helps improve how well listeners can receive station signals and really strengthens that connection between stations and their audiences. Why is that supporting that connection so important to you?
we feel like radio is an underserved market, and we always feel
Mhm.
like it has been, especially AM.
Yep.
It's huge. I mean, I don't think people realize how big it still is. People are listening maybe a little differently now. Maybe there's listening through a stream, but a lot of our customers still listen even on a stream on a radio.
Yep.
So we found that helping listeners get what they want, how they want it is really important because they have a sense of community and like a sense of trust with that station. A lot of the
Sure.
people that we talk to, they listen every day. You know, they're
Mhm.
very loyal and very committed. In some cases, they've listened for years, like decades in some cases, because some of these hosts have had the same slot with the
Yeah.
same time frame for yeah, decades. I mean, the Coast to Coast, for example, with now George Norrie started with Art Bell, so it's been on the entire time that I've been at Sea Crane, and we've been a supporter of that. And so we've yeah, that connection and that community, and then from the station side of just being kind of one of the only like American radio companies that supports radio in that way through advertising dollars, but also the product itself. So helping people get their signal, which is something that we think is, yeah, if they want to listen, they should be able to.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. And I know that something you believe in is that every home should have a reliable radio. What role do you see radios playing in today's digital first world?
Yeah. So I think that we're very reliant
Hmm.
on digital first. And we've seen in recent weeks
Yeah.
everywhere. So in Texas recently with the flooding, with Maui and the fires, with LA and the fires, with North Carolina and the hurricane, nothing worked. Radio was it. That was
That
all
was
that
it.
worked.
Yep.
And you had boots on the ground people that were able to provide information that's local. I mean, it's great if you have, even if your internet is working, if it's not telling you information that's actually valid and valuable to you because it's telling you where the shelters are, what's open, what streets are closed, can I go here or there, then it's really not very useful if you're in that immediate situation. And so we found time and again over the period of time that we've been in radio is that that's where radio really can shine in
Hmm.
this digital first. On the other side of it, I think there's a portion, and it's interesting to see even a younger generation now kind of starting to lean in to
Yeah.
not wanting to be the product.
Yep.
And so they're tired of being everything tracked, you know, your microphone listening, everything being tracked, and radio isn't that. And so it's a way to be anonymous still, and to listen to what you want. And so if you want to
Yep.
listen to conservative and you want to listen to liberal, it doesn't really matter. Nobody's going to know, and nobody
Yeah.
can then market to you a
Judgment free for them.
particular
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
So I think that there's definitely a piece of that resonates with the
Love
audience.
that. What do you think makes Sea Crane different from other manufacturers?
I think one of the big things is that we listen to the radio. I think that a lot of people don't. And so that's a big part. I think the other part is our commitment to the customer and the quality. Um, but we're also, again, American based. And so most of our competition, I think that there's only one or two, and most of those are in very specialty markets that are American based. So they're foreign owned. And so obviously, when you're coming from a different country, there's a different perspective
Sure.
as far as what's important. And then
Mhm.
how the product performs is different because, boy, when we test stuff like in development stage, it performs much differently overseas than it does here because our properties of everything are much different, just even from a distance perspective, you know. So I think those are some of the things. I think also understanding, like one of the things that we really focus on is voice focused audio because we
Mhm.
feel like there's a lot of music out there, right? Like there's different products that you can buy for music. There's all the speaker systems and all the things that are again very focused on um, that. And so we've focused on voice, which has expanded. So voice used to be just for the radio, and now there's podcasts and there's audiobooks. And so if you're
Yep.
doing Bluetooth, our product, I mean, I listen all the time to our CC Solar Bluetooth in my kitchen. Audiobooks because those are one of my favorites and podcasts and they sound amazing compared to um, like my son has this speaker and he's like, actually, that sounds terrible because it's so bassy, you know, you can't hear the
Yeah.
words. So,
What, where do you see the company heading? What's next in the next
mm,
5 to 10 years? Are there any new products or markets you're especially excited about?
yeah, so it's interesting. It's an interesting time in radio because it's certainly not like a from a product side, it's not like a huge growth
Yeah.
market as far as new goes. From the product side, though, we have been working on a looking at. We're still investigating because this is not easy and it's gotten more challenging with all of the things that are going on with importing and exporting and chips and all of that. But American radio, or at least some capacity of that. So been a long-term goal for the company. I don't know if we'll be able to pull it off. We're in the throes of trying to figure out that. Uh,
Nice.
Other than that, we also are working on a new Wi-Fi radio, and that one would be more supportive of podcasting. And so the
Oh,
cool thing
awesome.
about our Wi-Fi
That's very
radios
cool.
is they organize the content by genre or by station, and so people can search. So it's kind of an aggregator. So you don't have to go find all the different stations online or find this
Sure.
app and search through everything. It gives you a little um, more condensed, I guess, version for you to sort through because 25,000 stations can be very
Yeah, that could be
overwhelming.
overwhelming.
And the same, I
Absolutely.
think, with podcasts. People get
Yeah.
in there and they're like,
Oh,
oh,
so
there's so
many.
many.
Yeah. It's
Like,
like,
what do
where
I
do I
want to
start?
listen to?
Hmm.
Yeah. So I think that um, very, very much is what we're doing. And then we do have some stuff that we're working on that's totally unrelated to radio that I can't share yet,
No
but
problem.
that part is a big pivot, and so something that's been in progress for about 8 years. So,
That's
but I'm
awesome.
sure that we will be
Excited to
marketing it.
hear that. It's very soon, hopefully.
So, yes, hopefully very soon, and I'm sure we'll be marketing it on the radio just because that's where our roots are.
I love that. Now, I'm sure throughout your journey, as many ups as there's been, I'm sure there's been some challenges along the way. Thinking about your time at Sea Crane, what has been one of the toughest challenges that you faced, and how did you navigate it and learn from it?
Ooh, yeah, I saw that question. I was like, boy, you're gonna hit hard there. Honestly, I mean, like from the business side, I took over the company in 2022 and officially, but I started that journey in 2017, 2018, where I said 2018, where I said yes. And then COVID happened.
Of course, yeah.
And that was really um, like its own challenge, like where everything felt like a life or death decision, and like,
Yeah,
what do we do with our team members and
literally,
how do
yeah.
we support? Yes, like so that part was very challenging. We did well during that time. We were very fortunate. When people think the world's going to end, radio does particularly well. At
Hmm.
least it has in the past. This time, though, right now, I think for me personally, the tariffs have been really, really challenging. Probably more so than
For sure.
anything,
Yeah,
just because from the time frame perspective, it was like, all right, well, you have 9 days, right, to figure
you're like,
this
great.
out. Yeah, and we're working on 6 and 8 month lead times, so like nothing is 9 days, nothing's 30 days, nothing's 90 days. And then you add that into the mix. And so then our manufacturers are also dealing with that. And so there's their delays and just, kind of piggybacks and
Sure.
then just figuring out like what does cash flow look like. And
Mhm.
for me, I didn't have that background. So I did not have a degree in business or any background in finance or any of that. So for me, that's been kind of the biggest learning curve of figuring out like how to make sure we have the money that we need to do the things that we need to
Yeah,
do and that we can be stable as a company. And then also figuring out too, with, like you said, the digital first shift, we've even seen it in our operations side where, not people don't call as much like they used to. They still call,
yeah.
but they don't call the same. So the work
Everything on
has
the website, yeah.
shifted.
That makes
And
sense.
so, when you've always done things a certain way,
Sure.
and we have a lot of people that have been here a long time. That part is challenging too, of to like, I think we called it shooting I think Dave Ramsey calls it shooting your sacred cows. And you end up with a lot when you've been in business for a long time of things like, well, we've always done it that way or
Yep.
whatever, instead of challenging all those belief systems to go, well, how should we do it? Like if we were starting from scratch, and
What
we
will we be
didn't know
doing?
anything,
Yeah.
well, how would we do and how could we best serve the customer? How could we best build a product? I know we've always done it that way. And then also not like taking out all the things that you've learned that have served you really well from a quality control perspective, from a financial perspective to make sure, you're being a good steward. So that part has been, from a learning curve perspective, probably the most challenging. But as far as like actual stuff, and then people is challenging, personal stuff, everybody's got it. I mean,
Yeah.
we've had a lot of people here with people who have lost parents. So we've had people who have lost kids, people who have lost siblings, and we're so small. It's a very tight-knit group, and that's
Human side of the
impactful.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So learning how to be a good leader in those situations and care and still run the business.
So
Um,
important. Yep.
it's very it's a balance, right? And so um, I think it's something that we strive for, is to really treat our people well here, because we find that if we treat our people well, they treat people well.
Yeah, no,
So,
it's a great perspective to have.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And so, but like I said, learning curves all the way around as far as that stuff goes, because I didn't have that background. I didn't grow up in that way. So that's been.
You've definitely had an impressive journey, though. For anyone that might be tuning in that are looking to grow within their current company, what advice would you give them based on your own experience?
Say yes. I mean, honestly, I tell my kids that. Um, the opportunities present themselves to everybody.
Mhm.
Not everybody says yes. So people will say that, well, you just got lucky, or I haven't seen that to be true. I mean, yes, sometimes there's a bit of luck. You're in the right place at the right time. But a big part of it, I believe, is saying yes, even when you're not ready, even when you don't think like you have the skill set.
Yep.
I always love it when people say, there's somebody way less qualified, way less smart, and they're doing more than you are because they did it. And that's really, I think, a huge part of how you grow in a company. And then too, you find out what you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Like I was really good at IT. Coding is soul sucking to me. I, I would never want to do that like day in, day
That's
out.
fair.
And so, but you wouldn't know that. Like
Yeah,
you
you
might
learn it.
find that that's
Yeah.
like your
You may
joy
love
in
it.
life. One
Yeah.
of my coworkers, like he just lit up when the button did the thing that he just coded it to do. And I'm like, I am so glad that you love that, because you should do that all the time.
Yeah,
And I'll do all
yeah,
of this stuff over here. But
that's great.
yeah, so I think that you learn about yourself when you say yes, and you do the scary thing and you say yes to travel too. I think that's another one, because a lot of people are afraid to do that. But you get to see so much, and you gain so much perspective, and you meet such amazing people, and the opportunities then open up differently when you're willing to say yes.
That's awesome. We touched on this a little bit earlier, and I know that you and your company's dedication to customer service is extremely important. You have a culture of dedication and making sure that your team has excellent customer care. How do you maintain that for people that might have bought the product 20 years ago and are still coming back every single year?
Yeah, so we have a shelf kind of like this that has all the products that we've kind of, the flagship stuff, and even
Sure,
some of the random that we still support. We have all of our instruction manuals, but we also have company training. So just recently, we've stopped for a bit till we can figure out our phone system changes, but we had weekly company meetings. And so all hands on deck, everybody, and we would go through the products. We would go through changes. We would talk about what's going on with the company. We would go over numbers. And so we would try to run things very transparently. We also
sure,
talk about customer service challenges, like what are you facing? How did you solve it? A lot of coaching that would take place, especially peer coaching, from like, oh, if we have a new team member, uh, how they could handle that challenging situation, or maybe a customer that wasn't super happy about something. What are some ideas that we could come up with? And then we also, I shared this with someone I take for granted because I've been here for so long, but we also have a large group of blind customers. And so
wow,
we actually, that was something Bob's been very intentional about when designing the products, of making them as friendly as possible. And so button placement, there's typically like a raised button or some sort of reference point
Great.
so people
Yeah.
can. And then we have audio instructions available done by another blind customer. So for them
Great.
with the tones and everything. And then we train that way. So we will blindfold people and then they have
Oh,
to
it's so
walk each
smart.
other through because your instruction looks much different when you're
Yeah.
actually having to be that person and
Yep.
instruct that person and watch what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so we found that it just, even if it doesn't make us like super great at it all the time, I feel like we are, but I'm biased. But uh, it does give you more patience and more compassion. And so we have a lot of customers too that are older and maybe their sight isn't as good.
Yeah.
So they're not blind, but they can't maybe read the instructions as well. So I
Yep.
feel like we have a team that is super patient and not
Attentive. Yeah.
patronizing and just very generous with their time and their knowledge and willing to sit with the customer and walk through what needs to happen. We try to make the products as easy as possible so we don't have to do as much of that. That's one of my goals
Yeah.
is like try to reduce the calls so that we don't have as many
But
calls,
it's great that you guys have that
but we
all
do have
go.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We talked a little bit about what's to come and the innovations for Sea Crane, but what's next for you? What do you have on the horizon personally?
Oh, personally, wow, that's a great question. It's funny. I was just talking with my life coach recently about that. Of like, what's the second act? I turned 50 this year. And
Congrats.
so, and it's kind of like a, midpoint potentially, hopefully.
Yes, hopefully.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I don't know if like unique is the right word, but I have littles all the way. So my youngest is 7 and my oldest is 28.
Wow.
And I have 4. And so that creates its own interesting dynamic because um, I'm not where other people maybe would be as from decision making standpoint of being able to just be like, oh, I'm gonna go do this other thing completely because I still have these responsibilities over here. But I have been interested in podcasting and talking about just things that I feel like again underserved.
Yeah.
And so that may be something that I
Very cool.
pursue. Um, and then as far as here goes, we have, like I said, that new product coming, new vertical. And so I'm very passionate about
That's
what
great.
we're working towards and then continuing to serve and figuring out how to set up the company in a way that it can continue whether I'm here or not. That's one of my big goals, not just for the company, but also for the team here. So
Yep.
that it's not reliant on my skill set or me personally. Maybe the skill set has to be here, but it doesn't have to be me personally. So that's
That's always a great trait and
a
great
long
quality of a great
term
leader. Yeah.
like goal. Long term being like maybe in the next like 3 years we can figure that out. So
That's awesome. What is one thing you want people to take away about Sea Crane's story? What would that be?
I think Sea Crane's story, especially if I look at like Bob and Sue, I can't speak for them, but I witnessed it. So that we're lifelong learners. Something I've always admired about the company. And I'm very much that person. And I think a lot of the people here are that. And that's why they stayed. It's because they
Mhm.
get a lot of opportunities to do all these different things. Um, and then perseverance and courage it takes to actually
Love that.
say yes and do
Yeah.
these things. And then to be in such a niche market. Um, Yeah, I think that those would be and then, like, we actually really do care. I mean, I know people like that's the cliche and
No,
people
you could
say
it
that,
definitely it's come through throughout our conversation.
but we really do. We really try to create a culture of care and hope that translates into um, monetary, but that's not really the point. The point is
Mhm.
to take care of the customers. And I mean, obviously, we're in business, so we need to be able to stay in business, but it really is to serve.
Yep, it's that ripple effect. You take care of them, they're going to take care of you guys. So
Hmm.
I completely agree. So finally, if someone is tuning in and they want to learn more about Sea Crane or their products, what should they do?
Yes, so they can go to our website. Our website is ccrane.com, which is CCRANE.com, or they
Perfect.
can call our 800 number at 800-522-8863. We are open Monday through Friday, 8:15 to 5 p.m. And I think we take
Perfect.
an hour lunch. I'm the worst when it comes to that part, like the details, because I don't have to do any of the scheduling or any of that anymore. But if you go to our website, you can see what the hours are. If we aren't here and you have to leave a voicemail, we do call back, and you will get a live person that's in the US. And yeah, so that's what we do.
That's awesome. Jessica, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for taking us all through your journey, Sea Kane's journey, and we're really excited to see what's next.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. And thank you everybody for tuning into this week's edition of CEOs You Should Know. Tune in next week.